Lothian Road, another very useful road linking the new town behind us with the old town up ahead of us. And this is the sort of financial services area. We've got Standard Life on the right hand side, the Life and Pensions Office, the Clydesdale Bank, and that road would have led out towards the west coast and would have been the canal base originally. On the right hand side you've got the Sheraton Hotel, a very comfortable hotel, and on the left hand side the Usher Hall, founded by Andrew Usher, a brewer, magnificent concert hall. Ahead on the right hand side is the Film House, which is where they hold the International Film Festival. It also happens to be where Alistair Sim, the character actor, was born. Famously the headmistress of the St Trinian films. On the right hand side, about a mile down that road, is the birthplace of Sir Sean Connery. Some say the best of James Bond. Does anybody agree with that? Sir Sean. Turning into Bread Street. I won't insult you by asking you what you think they did here, but bread making involved open fires, and therefore it had to be outside the walled city of Edinburgh, because most of the buildings were of course made of wood and fire was a big hazard. So candle making, blacksmiths, bread making, they all had to ply their trades outside the walled city. Now unless they've moved it again, I expect the castle will be up ahead of us. And the building on the castle, the square-looking building, is the former barracks, in which up to 500 soldiers were garrisoned. The rock is reckoned to be about 360 million years old, and it would have been shaped like this by a glacier, which sort of scooped out on either side to form the area where the Knoll Loch was, and also on this side. It's quite an impressive looking rock, isn't it? On the right hand side, this bit looking a bit like a French chateau, the red sandstone building, that's the Art College. That's where Sean Connery, Sir Sean I should call him, posed as a model before he was able to make his living as an actor. And that Pepper Pot building, which has just disappeared because I wasn't quick enough, is George Heriot's School. I'll tell you more about that later. Now on the left hand side is the scaffolding on the esplanade for the military tattoo, a parade of pipers and bands from all over the world. It's a magnificent spectacle. Held at night, so you've got the spotlights down on the 100 pipers marching up and down. On the left-hand side, the former Highlander Tolbooth Church, where the sermons were conducted in Gaelic. It's now the headquarters of the International Festival, known as the Hub. So we're coming up now to the Lawn Market, which is where we would get off if you wanted to see the castle. The castle is on the left-hand side, obviously, and that's Castle Hill, and this is the Lawn Market section of the Royal Mile. A bumpy bit, so don't, if you are going to get off, don't get down hard until the last step. Now on the left-hand side is Gladstone's land. It's very appropriate that there's a rat held in the claws. It's actually a red kite holding a rat. Gladstone's land, a merchant's house of the early 17th century. And you would get a discount if you wanted to visit the, well, it's owned by the National Trust for Scotland. And quite appropriate that there's a pig sitting outside and also a rat in the claws, because in those days, of course, in the 17th century, this would have been a horrendous place in which to live. Deceptive, because although you can see 7 floors above the ground, there's another 4 floors below because of the slope of the land. Good afternoon, or good morning, should I say. Slightly ahead of us on the left-hand side is Lady Stairs Close, and down there is the Writers' Museum, where you can see artefacts of Robert Louis Stevenson, Robert Burns, our national bard, of course, and Sir Walter Scott. And it's free to go in. And it'll be a lot cooler than sitting on top of the bus. Not that I'm encouraging you to get off my bus. So up ahead of us we've got the High Kirk of St Giles, the Church of St Giles. There's been a church on that site for nearly 900 years, and the spire dates back to the 15th century, the 1400s. And that would have been the focal point of the old town of Edinburgh. And in the year 1700 there would have been 40,000 people living in this immediate area, under the most horrendous living conditions, with no running water, no sanitation. At 10 o'clock at night, the window would open and the buckets would be emptied onto the pavement below, with a cry of, "Gardyloo!" Look out for the water or anything else that was in the bucket. And because of the slope of the land, all the refuge and anything else would have been washed down into the Nor Loch, into the North Lake. Horrendous. Now on the right hand side, slightly over across the road here, was where Deacon Brodie lived. Apparently a respectable man. He was a cabinet maker and a town councillor. But at night he was a robber. When he visited his customers to take orders for cabinet making, he used to try and get a wax impression of the door key. And then months later he would visit his customer's house and he would steal from them. He did this for years. Nobody could figure out how things were disappearing when there was no sign of a break-in. But eventually he was caught, and ironically he was hung on the gallows that he himself had designed as a cabinet maker. He was hung in front of the High Kirk of St Giles, just a few yards ahead of us there. It wasn't often that a town councillor was hanged in those days, and so they expected a large crowd, and they deliberately had the hanging take place at 8:15 in the morning. But there were still 20,000 people here to witness his execution. Any more cheery subjects I can talk about? Now the High Kirk of St Giles is a beautiful church inside, a haven of tranquility and peace if you want to have a walk around, and also see the Chapel of the Thistle. The Knights of the Thistle is the highest order of knighthood. Can you see some flags sticking out opposite the church, the council buildings? Now that's where Mary King's Close is, the most haunted area of Edinburgh. At the time of the plague, they sealed off these buildings that were virtually underground and to avoid the spread of the plague. And 100 years later they opened up this street, Mary King's Close. And you can now visit it. They have actors down there, and it's a bit scary, I have to say. And there's a ghost of a girl that has been seen so many times that it's an absolute certainty to exist. And I can testify to its hauntings personally as well, in my visit there, but I won't scare you too much. So also in this area, you've got the Tartan Weaving Centre, you've got the Scotch Whisky Experience, you've got Camera Obscura, and some quite nice restaurants and bars.